Good evening and welcome to True Dugman Encounters. I'm your host, Marvin Allen. If you or anybody that you've known have had a sighting or encounter and would like to share it on my channel, please contact me. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Like, comment, and subscribe. As you all know, when it comes to this topic, there are no experts. I'm not going to take up too much of y'all time because this encounter right here is not real long. But anonymity means a lot to me, and I breaks that for no one. So without further ado, let's jump right into this encounter. Now, my eyewitness said that he lives in a small town where everybody knows everybody. He said about 2 weeks, him and other residents noticed a lot of animals coming up missing. I mean, they would see some slaughtered, ripped apart, and they thought that it was, you know, local animals that's out there. And they brushed it off. They didn't pay it no mind because that's what they thought it was. So he said that he was out one day taking a walk. And he said as he was walking down to near this creek was. Now, mind you, he is a hunter, he is a fisherman. That's the things that he liked doing. So he said he was walking down to where there this creek was. He said, so when he get down there near this creek, he noticed some funny shaped tracks in the mud. And he said the first thing that came to his mind was canine. He said, but they was too large to be that of a dove. So he brushed it off, paid it no attention. So he walked along this creek. And as he walked along this creek, he noticed that everything got dead quiet, silence. He couldn't hear nothing. And he thought that was strange and odd. So he said he stopped. He said when he stopped, that's when he began to hear footsteps. Boom, boom, boom. So he looking around, but he can't see where they coming from. So he continued to walk again. This time when he walked, the footsteps, boom, boom. It's walking with him, like it's keeping up pace with him. He walks a little further down this creek, then he bears off and goes back up this trail. And as he going up this trail, these footsteps is still pacing him. Boom, boom. That's when he stopped and the footsteps stop. He turns, he looked back. He scanned up and down side he was on, then he scanned on the other side of the creek, up and down. Then he noticed this dark figure behind a tree. But he said this wasn't no ordinary figure. He said this figure was tall. He said so he stood there and he just looked, he just watched. He said that's when he see this dog-like head peeks from behind the tree. And he said, what the? And then he held it down. He didn't want to make a lot of noise because he didn't know what he was looking at. All he knows is that he see this huge Doug head peek from behind the tree. That's when this thing came from behind the tree. He said when he saw that thing, he liked to on himself. He said it looked like a Doug, but it had human proportions, meaning the upper body, with long arms, hands, with canine legs. Said that's when he began to walk backwards on his path. Said that's when this thing started to walk down towards the creek. So he stops again. And this creature stops. And when it stops this time, it sniffs the air. And then it looks right back at him. He said that's when he can hear something to his right, like walking in the brush, on the leaves. And he looks. And when he looks down there, he see this deer. And he said the deer was just walking. He said that's when this creature sniffed again. And when it finished sniffing, he said it looked over in that direction where that deer was. That's when he said this creature starts to walk on that side of the creek towards that deer. And he said now this thing wasn't even paying him no attention. He said he was glad of that. He said it walks down in the same direction of where that deer was at, but on the other side of this creek. And then it stopped. He looks at the deer. He said he can see the deer head lifts up like it twists its ears and they stood straight up and it looked over there in that direction. He said so he assumed that this deer saw this creature. That's when this deer bolted. And he looked back over at this creature. He said that's when this creature just took one leap, leaped over on the other side of that creek and took off after that deer. And mind you, he said he could still see the deer running. He said, but that creature was on that deer so fast, he can hear the deer making all type of noise. And he grabs that deer by the neck. And he said he could see the deer just squirming. And then he said he must have squeezed this deer neck because it wasn't moving no more. Like this creature broke its neck and it walked back out over on the other side of that creek and back up into the woods. He said, and then he said he turned around and he just left. He just went home. He said, but he told the people in his community what's out there. And they looked at him like he was crazy. He said, I'm telling y'all, it's some type of werewolf Doug thing out there. So y'all need to be careful. And that was his encounter. I hope y'all like it. I'm going to upload that. Like always, I'll see y'all on the next True Dugman Encounters. Let's get it.